Hey everybody, this is Jim at SP500chart.com. It's after the close, about 4:15 on the last day of January, January 31st, 2013. And we're going to look at the S&P 500 again today, as we do every day. But as we do before every day, got to read this. And that is, the website and the video are for educational purposes only. Nothing stated at the site or in the video is intended to be used as investment advice. I can draw lines on charts, but you have to draw your own conclusions from your own research. And you need to make investment decisions that are suitable for your personal financial situation. I'm not a licensed financial professional. I'm just a guy who draws lines on charts. So with that in mind, let's take a look. Okay, guys, we're looking at a 30-minute chart of the S&P, and I guess what we really need to see here is what we've been talking about really for the past couple of weeks, if not a little longer. That is this bottom rising support line in this rising channel that has been operating for the entire month of January, and you can see that we gapped up on January 2nd, the first session of the year of 2013, and then we bounced around on this bottom line a little bit. We did it for about a day here in the second week of January. 2 days we spent bouncing around on that bottom line in the week of the 14th. Then we zoomed up in a nice rally up to this spot, at which point we, I think, finally correctly got this top line, because if you'll recall, we had various iterations of this top line, and some of those may have had some validity to them, but as the chart evolves, we have to take that into account. So I moved this line. Looking a little closer, you can see the multiple little tests here on the 8th, multiple tests of this line on the 15th and 16th. Today, we get 2 tests of this line. And you can see what happened if we look at it in a little bit more magnified version here. We broke, it looked like we had this ascending triangle pattern right here. We broke out above that, but yesterday that failed, and we ended up instead getting down underneath this pattern. Today we came back and back tested this rising support line of this pattern, which when it broke late yesterday, one would expect that to turn into resistance, and it did. But I want to remind you, though, the height of this little pattern is not very high right here. And I also want to remind you that the height of our channel is not very high. As a matter of fact, if we kind of measure the overall height of it, we'll discover, where's a good place to put this? It's just a little bit more than 20 points tall. So that's not a huge channel by any stretch, and it makes it a little bit hard to trade it, because what's the big payoff? But you can see today a test of this bottom line early in the around mid-morning rally, where it looked like I had just kind of temporarily drawn a couple lines here, and it almost looked like we maybe were going to turn around late in the day, but instead we sold back down for a second test of this line. So we got a couple of interpretations here. Maybe my top line is wrong. Maybe it's more of a little descending wedge. I don't know. I'm not going to worry about that too much, because, like we've been saying for the past couple of weeks, it is this line that's important. What goes on in between here is really such small moves that when we break this red line right here, and it will happen. It may happen. We, depending upon what we wake up to tomorrow morning, we could gap down. Okay, this is the kind of situation in the S&P right now where a gap down would not be um, an unreasonable thing because we closed right at support. So if there's anything that serves as a catalyst to break this line, it could do so. Maybe watch the futures overnight. See if we pick up a hint there. But so that's really about it for today, guys. We got two tests of this bottom line. So we did get, despite the initial strength this morning, we did get that test of that red line that this pattern, once it failed to meet its target up around 1514. I'm talking about this triangle pattern here between these two blue lines. What a nice little back test. Once again, showing that this horizontal line of this triangle is something that has clear technical significance. You could see it was resistance in the market for a solid 3 days, got above it, bounced yesterday, tried to bounce again yesterday, but now that it's below it, it served as resistance today. So guys, let's just see what happens tomorrow. If we break this red line, then I cannot tell you how far we might go. I would think it would probably be a shoe-in that we come down to the low 1470s, and it wouldn't surprise me if we get something of a bounce there, because we had a good bit of trading in that area for about a week. That could set up some speed bumps, but then we have this rising line down here that has been the support line for the last two more, I guess I would call them more critical bottoms the S&P has experienced. So if we break this 1470s, then I would look for this line to produce a bounce. If that doesn't produce a bounce, then the markets are going to be in more trouble. But here's the idea, and this is why we try to identify these lines of support. Let's say you're ready to trade. You're ready to take a long position. And the S&P comes down to 1471. And you think, well, that should provide a bounce. Well, maybe you buy it. But you buy it with an idea that you will sell at 1465 or 1462. You got to set your own stop. But if you make a practice of waiting for a return to support, then that gives you uh, uh, a statistical advantage on making a good trade. And then if that support breaks, then that gives you that means that your trade is pretty low risk. If for example, I wouldn't buy this today. We may bounce up, but I wouldn't buy this today because there's not a lot of, other than this little area where we closed today, there's not a whole bunch of support underneath this. So you see what I'm saying? If you pick your points, pick your uh, pick your spots carefully and be patient, then your risk reward will work in your favor. Does it mean you're always going to win? Nobody always wins. But it means if this support level, or if you do it at some point down the road, and maybe this support level, if it breaks, then at least you've bought at an area that makes sense and you have an exit underneath that area that isn't so doggone costly. So, guys, there's your video for the day. Let's watch this line, see if it holds tomorrow. I got a sneaking suspicion it may not, but we'll see. Thanks for your support. Thanks for watching. Take care.